is waiting on fries. That you don't get it? You don't. What do you mean you don't get waiting on fries?
Hopefully the customer never hears waiting on fries, but all this time on the entree and it's perfectly executed, and then you're like,
ready to go.
I forgot to fire the fries.
I just always use that when I forgot to put somebody's order in, and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on the fries. It's going to be 2 more minutes. Realistically, I come back 10 minutes with the food.
Exactly. They just know that their food's not there and the server said they're still waiting on fries.
I guess we're just waiting on fries. How'd your New Year's go, guys? You know, this is a big time for the restaurant business. This is a big time for the bar business. This is just, in general, where all the money's made this holiday season.
We had a pretty hectic New Year's.
And you were at?
I was at Manhattan for New Year's Eve.
Manhattan in New York City.
Manhattan in New York City, down in the financial district. We had a big New Year's party. We had 2 seatings, one at like 5 and another at like 8:30. So it was just all of Manhattan descended upon us at 5 o'clock. We sat, I think it was like 108 people. And each of those 108 people, not counting the people that were sitting at the bar, got a 5-course tasting menu. So
legit.
All 5 of their courses were coming out at the same time for 100
now,
people. Just imagine having to plate 5 courses for 100 people at the same time.
Well, it sounds like it's semi-easy, considering I feel like Manhattan is the type of place where each course is about the size of a silver dollar. Right? Is that
No.
the kind of place, sort of?
That, I mean, maybe from the Instagram pictures, that's what it would seem, but such is not the case.
I can't take the lady there. I think it's above my budget.
It's for sure not above the budget.
No. Doable?
Yeah.
Just, can you do it?
I can do it, when I'm off, which is like
now. You have
I'm
plenty of
off
time.
right now. I can go right now and get some lunch.
Well,
Yeah,
you can't go right now for lunch.
Own a restaurant, they said. You
There
can
we
take
go.
off whenever you want, they said.
Sundays that don't rain every other week.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And you had a brunch going on, Just.
We did have a brunch, so we skipped the New Year's Eve service.
It was a good call on your part.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get out of there. I'm not interested in the overnight.
Yo,
midnight-
we were out of there by like 1:30. I was at a bar before 2 o'clock, like drinking a beer, ringing in the New Year's.
I mean, I was home by 11:53 on the dot. But we flipped it around and we changed our normal operation into a brunch because everybody wants brunch on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So we
wanted some
did
fried
it.
chicken waffles.
Yeah. So we did a barbecue brunch, which was well received.
Saw the spread.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing was looking at the numbers. So we knew last year we did nothing because we did not serve a brunch on New Year's Day, and it was slow. That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
And so it was slow, and we did do the brunch this year, and we did like triple the numbers. So clearly,
Clearly, brunch
Triple.
is the way to go.
adjusting.
Triple the numbers is huge. I mean, you're talking about a time period where most restaurants are lackluster that next morning and there's not so many people out and your numbers are kind of okay, but they're nothing special, to the point where you said, no. We're going to do a brunch, guys.
Because
And
you're
we're
going to
gonna
be
crush
there anyway, and you're going to be paying people to be there.
Might as
anyway.
well.
You might as well do something nice.
Completely.
And it was a good crowd. We got some, college football games going on, that kind of stuff.
Yep, that's very legit. And Anum, you said you had 108 people. Is that
And the
per
first
seating?
Yeah, well, the first seating was, I think, around 108. The second seating was a little bit more.
Wow.
So it was just like, it's just getting your ass kicked for a solid 2 or 3 hours at a time.
Were you in the weeds at some point, just like backed up trying to plate these things?
Yeah, so I was working on the snack station. We were doing the first course. So everybody who came in, they got this little caviar grilled cheese thing, an oysters Rockefeller, and
Anum is in the kitchen, by the way, running all the show in the kitchen. Not the case. Not the case. I don't run the whole show.
Not the whole show,
but part of the show.
Spoon work.
Spoon work.
Spoon work is key. Yeah, so you got your little grilled cheese with caviar, you got your oysters Rockefeller, and then you got this little vegetable crudité thing with a tarragon emulsion. So those 3 dishes were what me and my station were responsible for putting out for every single person that sat down.
It's like the Industrial Revolution, just like on the line, huh?
Something like that.
Fantastic. That place also has a beautiful view.
Gorgeous view.
Just relative to that, we had a chocolate waffle, a sweet potato waffle, and a regular waffle.
That is.
And some fried chicken.
And fried chicken. A thigh, I'm guessing.
It was chicken thighs for sure. Jesus. But Mike did come up with a beautiful jalapeno strawberry jam from scratch
Strawberry jam.
that made money.
That gives our tarragon emulsion a run for its money.
Absolutely.
I've read that jalapenos are wildly inconsistent, so how do you know how many jalapenos to put in this jam without killing people?
That I don't know.
I assume that's a question of taste. You add a couple jalapenos, give it a taste. See where
As
you're
you
at.
go, as you go. I guess it's different when you're infusing jalapenos into tequila. You're not really fully tasting it as you go.
No, you're kind of infusing and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, 4 hours, you forget what you're doing. You're
4
doing
hours.
your.
I thought you'd have to wait a couple days.
Oh, I mean, these things start instantly. They start taking over flavors.
So then you can taste as you go.
Yeah, but you forget. That's the problem. You forget. You always forget. Something comes up, and next thing you know, you're printing out show notes, or you're downstairs chopping up limes, lemons.
Sounds like you forgot some jalapenos and some tequila.
They call me short-term memory bugs for a reason.
So after a rough second seating at New Year's, I needed fresh cold cider from Diner Bruco.
What's that?
Diner Bruco? Well, it's our local cidery in
New Rochelle, New York, that is.
New Rochelle,
Just
New York.
you've had some of that Diner Brew on your taps.
We've carried it before. He's dialed back some of the production to focus on his tap room, which is pretty cool. And coming up for the next month, Chris and I spoke about doing an event in February, one at our location in Mamaroneck, one at his location in New Rochelle,
40 Division Street in New Rochelle.
40 Division Street in New Rochelle.
Nice.
And Chris is going to feature a draft line at Smokehouse that he's going to pick and send us once a week for the next month leading up to those events.
That's like Diner Bruco roulette.
Pretty much.
Just
You get a
like-
hand-selected product from the guy making it, sending you exactly what he wants you to drink every week.
And that's cool because that stuff is made like a solid 2 or 3 towns over in Mount Vernon. So it's like super local.
Are you gonna serve it through your paper straws?
Who drinks beer out of a straw?
I
Well, cider.
cringe.
You can drink
Either
cider.
one.
I
Drink cider.
cringe. I cringe every time
It's like
somebody's.
eating wings with a fork and knife.
I've definitely seen people do that.
I know.
But you know what the move is? Eat wings with rubber gloves.
I've yet to see that.
Are you serious?
I like people coming in and eating with rubber gloves.
Yeah.
I can't even look at a Noom in the face right now. It's
That's
real
a
tough.
giant waste of rubber.
Shout out to Charlie and Cooper at Manhattan. So we make wings for a staff meal sometime, and the two of them roll up to the lunch table with rubber gloves to eat their wings, so
That's
their
l-
hands don't get all dirty.
That's
It
like a
makes
lane
sense.
with the Twix in Seinfeld.
But that's not civilian use, though. Like,
I mean, I guess not. But I would feel no type of shame in going to a bar or restaurant and being like, "Yo, let me get a rubber glove." Just
So
the
they
wings.
put on these rubber gloves. They eat wings and then they just throw the gloves out.
Single
How
use
much
one-
waste
one-time
is
glove.
this?
Oh,
This
that's
is
super wasteful. Super
absurd.
wasteful.
You want to talk about these things and sustainability. It just seems like that's not very sustainable at
Well,
all.
but so we have the metal straws. I feel if you're using the metal straws and not using the plastic or the paper straws, you can afford to throw away a few rubber gloves.
The problem is with the metal straws.
'Cause that's just like offsetting the waste.
If your space is not a high-end space and you've got these metal straws, they just decide that they're walking out. The metal straws walk out the same way your underwear and socks disappear in the middle of the night.
I think they walk out of high-end places or not. Like
Yeah,
wherever
metal
you are,
straws walk
they're
out
walking out.
everywhere.
Well,
Can I segue into a little story? One of my coworkers, I forget what restaurant he said he went to, but he went to some restaurant and they served him with what's called a coon spoon. And if you cook, you know what a coon spoon is. I recently learned what they are because we use them in plating a lot. But they're spoons that cost like $30 to $40 a piece. And so they just released this new like gunmetal gray set of coon spoons, and this restaurant was serving people with these coon spoons. So Peter tried to just take one of these spoons. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just keep this. I can use this at work." They added an extra $30 surcharge onto his bill because his server noticed him walk out with a spoon. He was like, "Excuse me, what's this?" And she goes, "Excuse me, where's our spoon?"
that's fair.
Got
He
him.
was like, "All right, so I paid for the spoon."
What's the shape of this spoon?
It's just like a long spoon. It just looks like a regular spoon, not like a serving spoon, but just like a spoon.
And then why is it called a coon spoon?
Because I believe it was created by a chef, Gary Kuntz.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not. It's not a what you think it is.
Well, I thought it was
Like a
racial. I
slur?
thought it
Yeah,
was
no.
racial.
So did I. The first time someone said it to me, I was like, "What are you calling me?"
I wasn't
He
offended.
was like,
I was
"No,
just
no, no.
saying.
Do you have a coon spoon?" I was like, "I got a spoon, bro. I got a spoon."
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I needed that.
It was a good story.
But
Shout
with
out
all
to
these
Peter.
trending rage in sustainable practices, we're currently in New York right now.
Currently
I
in Marinette.
recently relocated into Stamford, Connecticut.
That's too bad, I'm sorry.
Now, this is a place where the moment that I moved into town, there were no such thing as plastic bags in stores anymore.
That's something Justin has to deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And then you have to pay 10 cents if
To
you
get a
want
paper
a
bag,
paper
right?
bag.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is a full face mush that happened overnight, it seems like.
That makes sense in Connecticut. the land of taxes and no professional sports.
Unbelievable. So, my day where I walked into this bar here that I work behind, all of a sudden, all of the plastic straws were gone.
What bar? You gotta tell us where we can find you.
This is in Teguin.
Is it a bar or a city?
It's a bar in Stanford, Teguin. All of a sudden, the plastic straws were gone and paper straws were replaced. Now, my first night working was a Friday, Saturday night when I saw this happen. And sure enough, a kid came in. He was a little inebriated, and he threw a fit. And I respected his fit so much because he said he was never coming back because there was paper straws. This kid left, and I could not be more happy with integrity. I was like, this kid is really onto something.
Yeah.
Stand your ground.
He stands by his convictions.
He came back in an hour later and ordered more drinks. I was so let down. So let down.
Did you tell him how you felt?
I did, and
You're like, listen, bro, you said you weren't coming back.
I did. I literally let him have it. He survived, though. But we're seeing all these trends happen in these sustainable practices where it's not all about just eliminating all the waste. It's about just
Making the
reducing,
waste more trendy.
reducing your waste and trendifying your waste.
Like those little eco-friendly brown boxes.
It's like upcycling. You take something that was on somebody's curb and you sand it
Or
down and polish it a little bit.
You
Take a new
something that
photo.
was on somebody's plate, like a bone, and you turn that into charcoal.
Sure, exactly such.
Yeah.
For me, I focus on the drink side of things, and there is a kid in Mumbai that works at a bar. His Instagram is at the Indian.bartender.
Shout
But
outs
what
to the Indian bartender.
what he's actually doing though is he really is focusing, and his entire establishment is focusing on sustainable practices with drinks to the point where you just said taking the bone and turning that into ash. This is used as a garnish in food pieces, as a garnish in drink pieces. This could also be a piece for compost, so they can grow plants in their back as well. And furthermore, he recently just posted something that showed that he was taking the roots of basil and mint, and he was blending them together to create this paste, because there's a lot of juices there in the stems. And when he made this paste, he laid it out on a cookie sheet, and he dehydrated it, and he created, what was that, Noom, that we wrapped the sushi in?
Oh, something like nori.
Yes,
Yeah.
something very equivalent to nori. And he was using this as a piece of garnish in his drinks and whatnot.
That's interesting.
Are you guys doing sustainable practices at Manhattan?
Not so intense like that, but so we buy whole ducks and we trim them out and portion our duck breast from that. I know we're recently gonna start putting a duck wing dish, like a char siu barbecue duck wing, on the menu. So we have an actual proper use for our duck wings rather than stocks and sauces and whatnot. So we're making money off of the whole duck.
And the rest turns into a stock.
The rest turns into something. Duck sausage. What else are we doing with the ducks right now? I guess that might be it. The duck wing, the duck sausage, duck breast, yeah.
Well, that's also just a piece in restaurants in general, too, where it's wise to use every single piece of whatever it is you've purchased as far as meats go or whatnot.
Why it's used as much
Into-
as possible.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's not a new way
No,
of
it's definitely
thinking
nothing.
either.
Not
It
at all.
goes back from even
That's
like
just being sensible.
yeah.
Completely.
From the early days of eating, even when we were actual hunter and gatherers, you would go out and hunt, and you would use every part of the animal you killed. You wouldn't just like take out some ribeyes and then let it.
But
it
his
go.
boy in Mumbai is taking it to another level, grinding
For
up
sure.
roots.
In Smokehouse, are you guys doing something that does sort of focus on not wasting as much? I know that I feel like you make your own sausages in house.
Well, we actually took sausage off the menu currently, but yes, we try to make everything in house and use everything that we. Whenever we purchase something, use the entire product, whether it goes back to the kitchen for something else. Like for example, we make a cranberry syrup for one of our cocktails, and then we have all the, for lack of a better term, spent cranberries that we strained out of the syrup. I can send them back to the kitchen to make some kind of jam or paste, or use it in a dessert somehow. It's like at that point soaked up all the sugar and whatever you're using. So you don't just like toss it out. And you might not use it all the time, but it's very common that I'll make something for the bar and I'll take whatever I'm not using and ask
Can you make
kitchen,
use of this?
hey, does anybody have a use for this? Or can we think of something to use? Whatever is coming out of that product.
I think that's a good way to look at things too. I mean, behind the bar where we may be juicing mangoes, all that pulp I've actually put in a bag before, and I attempted to make a like mango, like almost sorbet to some extent. I failed. I failed miserably, but that's not the point. The point
Failures
is
happen.
I tried,
Failures happen.
and you got to fail. Otherwise, you're not going to learn how to advance to the next step. No.
But if I was behind the bar and I was just juicing a bunch of mangoes, I would have put that mango pulp in a bag and just eat it. Skip the middleman, just eat it.
As long as the consumption happens somewhere, it's not getting thrown in the garbage. We're good.
Talking about
We-
delicious mangoes. Just
We
eat it.
switched to paper straws a while ago, actually, just to get ahead of the whole. It's going to happen eventually. Where
Let's just get used to it.
New York's going to follow California and say, okay, paper straws. So we might as well just do it and be ahead. And you get some benefit from that as well. You're more of a trailblazer instead of just doing what you're told to do at some point.
True.
Is the cost drastically different?
When you're talking about straws, like percentage-wise, sure. I mean, you're talking about spending 12 cents per straw versus 2 cents a straw. So it's 10 cents per drink, which doesn't sound like a lot, but volume, yes, you're going to incur those costs.
But what about the weight of the cost or the cost on your conscience? How do you feel at night?
Well, that's the big thing. The big thing that we want to focus on is the weight of the responsibility that we have in the rest.
Like your moral.
I mean, and it's true. I mean, the restaurant industry definitely creates the most waste of food
Absolutely.
on the planet, and it's starting. I don't want to say it's starting. It's always been, but it's a responsibility to not create waste, especially when we live in a good environment where we can go out and eat and get and have food, nice food, well prepared, pretty easily.
Right.
Even if you're not the richest person in our area,
You can still eat pretty good.
you're pretty high up on the ranking of human beings in the world. So it's like, to just waste it, you got somewhere in the world someone would love to have it. So it's more of a responsibility thing, for me at least.
I took a trip over to the 18th Room. This is a sister bar of Bathtub Gin, Speakeasy in New York City here. I don't know if you've been.
Not familiar with it, but I'll check it out.
So they opened up semi recently, and by that I mean not so recently. Yep, love that. And we had the pleasure of talking with Andreas, who was behind the bar. He's a kid from Miami that moved up here to pursue bartending after doing radio. And you can find him on Instagram _DrakeCab_. And the 18th Room, as it was late, so we got a beautiful one-on-one with him at the bar. Nobody else was in the place. He realized that we were all bartending in
Was
the
it
industry.
actually beautiful, or was he like trying to get out of there and you guys were just like eating up his time?
No, he was a professional, and he was actually into serving and hospitality, which you don't see too often.
Depends on where you go.
But with that one-on-one, I know. And with that one-on-one, though, we really had great talks about the 18th Room, and I didn't realize that it is fully sustainable.
Yeah.
To the point where they don't carry spirits if that company is not sustainable. And on top of that, he was going into the fact in how they have to make their drinks. Now, when the bartenders create drinks downstairs in the lab, they can't throw anything out whatsoever. They have to repurpose every single piece of every fruit into the cocktails.
So you're saying
Otherwise,
that
their drink
every
doesn't happen.
piece of every product that they bring in has to end up going to the customer in some way?
Yes. So he was telling us that he had these seeds left over. I forget what the seeds were for one of his drinks. So he had to collaborate with one of his bartending peers that also worked there as well. And he said, hey, I could give you these seeds that will infuse to your foam that you're making for this cocktail. And I think those things should go together. And they wound up making a collaboration on a drink just by getting rid of the rest of his seeds.
So, I mean, if someone at that bar is like juicing fruits for a drink, like juicing citrus or something like that, they then have to use the spent citrus husks in a way?
I
Otherwise-
presume so, that they maybe dehydrate to ash down or something to that extent.
So is this a goal or a policy?
This is a policy.
So how do you enforce that policy?
enforce it in such way as what? You think somebody might be cheating and saying
Well,
like,
no,
Bringing their own
like-
garbage bag to work,
Yeah.
carrying
No,
it
I
out
mean-
with them at the end of the night.
But like, what happens if it just doesn't happen? Like, what happens if, in your example, you squeeze some lime and you have some lime husks that don't work in anything that you're using?
I think if you had to squeeze a lime, there would be a use for the husk. Like they wouldn't bring in limes unless they had a use for the husk.
yeah. They also
Apparently
they
that's what it
don't
sounds
use
like. That's intense.
they
That's
they don't
very
use
intense.
egg whites either.
'Cause
Just
they have no use for the
because
yolk in the
the
shell?
yolk has no use, so they use aqua fiber, which is what you find in chickpeas, soaking in, and that also is able to create this frothy foam texture that
I
you
actually learned
you
about
see.
that this year. If you take a can of chickpeas and drain
Yeah.
the liquid out, you can blend it up and create a mayonnaise with
Yep.
it. There's enough like protein in that you can make mayonnaise out of it.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So like these are the things that we're kind of leaning towards, and you start seeing more and more articles about as everyone wants to keep talking about sustainability, and it's the latest trend, right? Until the point where everybody's saying the word sustainability, until everyone goes back and they go, no, we're gonna be the unsustainable bar.
That's gonna be an interesting concept when that happens.
You touched on trends too with sustainability, and it's important, like, to weigh where you're at with sustainability, and are you actually trying to be a sustainable concept, or are you trying to be perceived as a sustainable concept to like
Perception is
the
key.
the public? Because
Yeah.
a lot of that, they're buzzwords now too. I don't, maybe not everybody even understands what sustainability means in practices, and you just hear it and you're like, oh, cool, I'm gonna support that, but you don't even know what it actually means. And it's the biggest thing is to make sure that if you're gonna do it, like, follow through,
Actually do something that matters.
follow through with what
Yeah.
you're doing.
And just you're prepping a new restaurant now as well.
Prepping a new restaurant.
Not
Prepping it.
not to fully steer away from
I would say building, but
the sustainable talk.
we prepped
He's
dinner.
not in the kitchen prepping a new restaurant.
So just own
Currently laying
Smokehouse,
bricks.
in case you don't know this, and they've just shut down one of their locations as I
R.I.P.
guess.
Nero.
Yep, lease is coming to an end,
606 North.
and they're moving across the street into a much bigger facility. How long were you at that other location?
12 years.
12
long,
years.
beautiful years.
12 years since 2007.
It's a long time,
Very long time.
and
It's a long
just,
time and it's a short time,
Just
depending on how you look at it.
I
It went by quick.
It did go by quick, but it's still a long time.
now just shutting those
It was a
doors
sustainable
down.
It's
Very
I see what you did there.
very sustainable. How much percent is takeout in that place?
We run about 50% takeout,
What was that number?
50%.
Somebody in this business just heard that number and they just said, "No way, he's making this up."
It's one of those things you got to see to believe,
It-
and then when you see it, you still don't really believe it.
It does sound better than sometimes it looks. Also, I mean, we definitely had a strong takeout business, but at the same time, it's a small location, so it's much easier to do 50% takeout when you have 1,000 square feet to work with versus 4,000 square feet,
So
which
we
we will be going into.
So we expect that number to drop a little bit, I
I
guess.
mean, just naturally, the bigger floor space means that's more percentage that you're operating out of.
Now going into a new location too, you
For instance, I'm sorry to cut you off, but for instance, an example in our Mamaroneck location is 2,700 square feet, and we're about 30% takeout. So you can see how it skews based on the floor space you have. The more people that you can actually sit down, you're going to increase your.
And that's what you want. You know, more
Right.
people sitting in the restaurant as opposed
Drinking
to walking out
drinks.
the door. Yeah.
completely. And in building out this new restaurant,
Prepping.
in prepping this new restaurant, you have a lot of things under your control, as far as how you've put this together.
Absolutely.
Most
It's
like 50% of the things under your control.
50% of the things under control.
So you sat with a architect.
Well, what we have is an opportunity to actually create exactly what we want to do, which we hadn't had before. So essentially, this is the third restaurant we're gonna build out. Right, we built out New Rochelle in 2007 on a very, very small budget, and we built out Mamaroneck in 2015 on a also small budget, but
Slightly
definitely
bigger.
definitely better than the first one we had. But both of those restaurants were pre-existing restaurants that we were able to build upon and just
Sort of retrofit.
kind of retrofit to be us instead of what we're doing now, which is building from the ground up, which is a whole nother game. Where 6 months ago we had a hole in the ground,
and now you've got a frame of a building,
and we're like 2020, this is going to be a restaurant, So what we have is an opportunity to literally put everything in the exact spot that we want to put it, and capitalize on all those opportunities that we say in the other locations. Like, oh, if this was over here, this would be better. Or if this is over here, then this would be better. Well, now we have the chance to put everything exactly where it's supposed to be.
Once you open up, basically.
Sorry, I felt like there was going to be a question in there.
No, I was thinking about your build out and your ability to just put things where you want at this point, which is almost luxurious, if you will.
It's luxurious, but it's also a little frightening because you can make a mistake and you can get into it and start operating and realize this shouldn't be over here.
Yeah,
which is what happens a lot.
You can make a giant mistake.
Yeah.
Well, look at how many seats you're going from too at the previous location's bar, right? That place wasn't really designed to be a full-scale bar in any sense, but we converted it to it, and we were able to make it happen. I'm on the team, guys. I'm here. I'm in the restaurant. What's up? But how many seats were at that bar at New Rochelle?
In New Rochelle, we had 7 seats at the bar and 25 seats total inside the restaurant. Then we sat another 55 people outside. Seasonal, of course, from April to October.
Now
There's really only 7. I thought it was 8.
At the bar stools? Yeah. 7.
We're arguing about one stool, guys.
I thought there was a B8.
There's a big difference. Every one of those stools is worth $10,000 in revenue over the year. So
that's a very good point made. Now, how many?
Wasn't there a B8?
I think that was just for people standing in the corner.
Oh, okay.
How many seats now are at the bar that we're building out?
We're at between 18 and 21 seats.
It's a huge jump.
Depending on where we end up putting the service bar and some equipment that might go at the bar versus Expo. So
how many seats does the Mamaroneck bar sit?
Mamaroneck is 65 seats total and 16 at the bar.
16 at the bar.
What kind of obstacles are you facing in maybe getting permits together for this, or just getting this thing completed as quickly as possible?
Well, the biggest thing is the design phase of it. It seems like when you're building out from scratch that, the harder part is going to be the actual building and actually installing, putting things in. But, as things kind of fall out, that part will probably go the quickest. The more important and harder part is the designing where everything goes. And when you have, you'll hear a lot with commercial real estate, vanilla box versus, an empty shell. And, what we're talking about is a hole in the ground from when we started.
Well, let's explain the vanilla box to maybe those that don't understand.
Well, a vanilla box is, 4 walls and a floor and some rough plumbing and electric roughed in, nothing brought to where you want to go. Where you get an empty shell is where none of that is there. You have kind of a box. Maybe the flooring's not done. You don't have any plumbing or electrical worked in yet. And then a hole in the ground is a hole in the ground.
And in that yellow box, though,
you need to describe that one.
In that yellow box, though, a lot of times they'll give you XX amount of money to fix things the way you need before you move into this location.
Yeah, I mean it's called tenant improvement. A lot of times landlords will use that to negotiate to get a restaurant in. But that's kind of, you start going into like commercial real estate because that's more on that side of it. Mm-hmm. And, what I'm talking about is on our side of it is having, an architect come in and do a floor plan to maximize the space to make sure that you're going to have the right flow of people coming in the front door, going through the bar, going to the takeout area, making sure that those eyes as they walk through the restaurant or come into the restaurant are seeing everything that they need to be seeing to maximize the sales or to trigger any thoughts or anything. All that layout is important of how people flow through your restaurant. Also, how many seats can you get in there? How many, and then the numbers of how much money each one of those seats is going to generate. Then you have to hit your goals versus your rent and make sure that you're designing a restaurant that's capable of doing a daily number or a weekly number or a monthly number that's going to support whatever the rent is at that location. And that all has to get done before you even sign a lease or get started. So you're talking about a good amount of money and a good amount of time invested before you even lift a hammer. And then after you do that, you have to do this kitchen design to make sure all the specs in the kitchen are going to work to be able to produce the amount of food and the amount of output that they have to be doing to support all the tables that you just put in there. And then you have to have the electrical and the plumbing to make sure all those little specs, and you have the right makeup air so that's not too cold or not too hot. We can get into it, but all that gets done again before you lift a hammer on paper. So you have an architect, then you have a kitchen design, then you have an engineer, then you have a kitchen architect coming in and lay out all these floor plans of all these specs to get all this information down. And then you can put a number, and then you say, okay, I'm going to sign my name on this, and let's lift up a hammer.
There you go. There you go. So, all in all, from the point when you started moving into across the street to when it should be finished, how long do you think that's going to take?
We're and I'm going to say this, we're hoping 6 months, and it's always a hope when you're, especially with construction.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. We got an idea that we're going to start building the inside of the restaurant, not the guts, but like the cosmetic part and furniture and fixtures and equipment, that part of it. Hopefully we were starting to do end of April, middle of May, which would shoot us at like a July opening. But I'll let you know.
Speaking about layouts, before it gets to be the point where it's irrelevant, remember the bathroom in Mamaroneck? And we created that little hallway so we didn't have people walking down the hallway into the kitchen.
That's actually an excellent example. Yeah. So when we took over the restaurant, that was a pre-existing restaurant that we purchased, and that's another thing to get into when you're purchasing a restaurant, what it's actually worth and what it's not actually worth.
What they say it's worth and what it can actually do.
So we purchased a restaurant, was not doing great business, but it had a great kitchen in it, and that was what the purchase price was worth, the kitchen equipment that we ended up buying. And all of the work that we ended up having to do was cosmetic and kind of the flow of the restaurant. And one of the major problems they had was, if you can picture it, the back wall where the bathrooms were, there was only one entrance, and it was a shared entrance to where the servers would be running in and out of the kitchen with food. So you have, and it's not a big hallway. It was probably 4 feet wide.
It's literally probably about the size of this table.
And so you would have your servers running in and out with food, and your customers searching for the bathroom because they don't know where they're going. So they're just kind of coming around the corner.
It was such a dangerous corner.
It was just bad. So we had to like split it, build a new wall with a new opening, and have 2 entrances, one for the kitchen and one for the customers to go to the bathroom, so we could avoid this. Just, I don't know why it was like that.
Yeah. How long did it take you to realize that was a problem that had to be solved?
Oh, that was
very quick.
As soon as we walked in.
I think the question was, "Where's the bathroom?" Oh no, this won't work.
You have all your numbers down. It sounds like completely. You know what these seats are going to be generating, or what you're expecting these seats to
what
be
they need to be
generating,
for sure.
Well, to keep alive, and then anything above that is profit zone, no?
Correct.
Okay.
It's always room for more revenue.
Is there going to be any notable maybe difference that is going to happen? Like, you have 2 locations, and the New Rochelle location has always been targeted more so to maybe the college crowd that is right there, keeping the wings a little bit more basic, the burgers a little bit more basic, than you do in the Mamaroneck location, in which you did want to flex a little bit in the culinary aspect of things. And you said,
appreciate the way you said that.
Let's give the flex part. Let's give the people a little bit something of a maybe higher tier quality, or
I appreciate the way you said that too.
Something that they were not seeing in Mamaroneck
Or in Neuro.
or in Neuro. Yes.
Well, I think what happened was, over the time we evolved our concept and evolved our brand into knowing exactly the direction we wanted to go in, and that was focusing more on the barbecue aspect and focusing on more on, for lack of a better term, cleaner plates, and a cleaner menu, especially because in our New Rochelle location we were just doing a lot of different things based on what people wanted instead of what we wanted people to want. If that's a good way to put it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we had an opportunity to kind of revamp that and tool the menu that way, and we did that in Mamaroneck. We became a little more in our lane, for lack of a better term.
I'm so surprised nobody said the B word so far. I was waiting for that.
What B word?
You know what B word. What's your favorite word? Bougie?
Oh, bougie. I forgot. That's
Mamaroneck is the bougie,
it's
the bougie stepchild.
the bougier smokehouse. It is my favorite word.
It's
You're
the
right.
bougie stepchild.
It's the
That's unique in itself, though, that you're able to have sort of two different things going on under the same umbrella of a brand.
But that comes down to knowing your clientele and knowing what people are looking for in the specific area.
For sure. It was unique. It was super confusing and very difficult to operate. And it was something that we needed to clean up to move the brand and the company forward, which is what we're doing now. Neuro had a very odd and gifted way of, as you said, being able to cater to like a college crowd and able to cater to a local crowd, and then able to cater to a higher demographic, like,
draw people in. With
like you can have suits and sweatpants in the same place, and you don't get a lot of places that could do that. And I'm not sure that we will be able to replicate that going forward, because I think that was specific to the location. And as we were kind of growing up in the industry, and now that we're adults,
sort of established.
I don't want to say adults because we're not, we're kids, but as we want to say adults, I think we've kind of found our way, and that's what we're going forward. We got to clean up the brand, be on one page, and kind of showing everybody what we're doing and why it's better.
I mean, one of my favorite things, period, of going into your restaurant, though, are, let me say this, the Mamaroneck location, the bougie one, the bougie location, the fact that the wings aren't really fried. They're smoked
fried
wings.
At all. Fried and grilled.
They're
That's
smoked.
the big change.
Yeah.
And like when
it was a scary change a little bit too, because
that was a confusing change, because you go into Smokehouse Neuro and you get fried wings. You go into Smokehouse Mamaroneck, you get smoked grilled wings, and we're like, can we get the Mamaroneck wings in Neuro?
It's a thing where I go to Neuro and I don't want wings. I'm not having fried wings. I've been treated to something
like
a
you
little
just said. You're
bit...
an adult now. You want adult wings.
Exactly. This is why most of my top 3 wings don't have a fryer involved in them. I want other things now. I'm a grown up, damn it.
I'm not gonna completely throw shade on the buffalo wing. I mean, it's been around for a while. I'm always
There's
good for
nothing wrong
good...
with a classic crispy wing. You're right, but there's a little more.
Yeah, it wasn't us, and we, it was us, but it wasn't the brand going forward, and that's what we needed to clean up a little bit.
I'm going to actually put out some real confusing Yelp reviews on your Mamaroneck location and the New Rochelle location involving the wings.
And I will be quick to jump onto those Yelp reviews and respond
in a way that's appropriate.
To appropriately respond, to create brand clarity and clear that up. Because
appropriate responses are important when it comes to Yelp reviews.
The brand is the most important thing, and being clear in your brand is what's going to set you apart going forward. And there's no better way to be clear in your brand than appropriately responding to Yelp reviews, or any reviews in that matter. But
I'm a fan.
Consistent message is the key.
I'm a fan of Yelp reviews being responded to by somebody sitting in the office. It shows, hey, we're paying attention. Hey, we're professional in our answers. And hey, we care that you took the time to leave a review.
But what if we're responding, we're not professional in our answers, and we don't care that you took the time to respond because watch me win? What about that? Is that still like the type of Yelp review or response that you're looking for? And what do we have to say about those?
Right about now, Waiting on Fries court is in full effect. Judge J residing in the case of Waiting on Fries against the Yelp Reviewers of America. Prosecuting attorneys are Anu Bandel and Justin Zato. Order!
What do you have going here? We won't ask who.
We won't ask who. We won't name who. But we came across some Yelp reviews for a local business where the owner just seemed to show no regard for people's feelings, I guess, to put it mildly.
I'm going to preface this by just saying that Yelp sucks. Okay? And I will forever side against the...
What's the True Cook slogan? People fuck us on Yelp?
People fuck us on Yelp. Yeah. Right? So that's always out there. And it really tends to where you get the quarterback reviewer, right? They go into a restaurant,
they know they're going to write a review.
They know they're going to write a review. Like, they're only even going out to eat to write a review. And they don't always it's not always fair. It's like, a voyeuristic approach to being involved without being involved. But they have to be read and responded to. However, in
Well, they
this
don't have
case,
to be responded to.
well,
Some of them should.
in some sense,
Yeah.
whether you're physically responding or taking the information inside your restaurant or however you're responding.
Right.
So there's a somewhat northeast local spot, if you want to even use that as local.
We don't have to get it. We don't have to get into that.
Oh, no, I agree.
Are you gonna pull one up to read it?
I have it pulled up to read it.
So there's a user gripe, right? That's usually what happens on Yelp.
Yeah.
Somebody has a gripe. The first question that I ask before you even read whichever one you're going to look at and highlight, is it a fair gripe? Does the person have a warranted reason
So let's
to
get a
post
summary
this?
of the review and the response.
Okay, so Yelper A here wrote a review of said restaurant that they traveled a far way to the restaurant because they were recommended by a family member that the food was good. So they traveled all this distance. The restaurant has a website up. It has a whole website up, and their times and open hours are all displayed so you can see when they're open. And when they get there, it's closed.
It's a fail.
And the Yelper is upset because they were not, it wasn't a holiday. It wasn't like a general time where you would assume.
Was this
that
during
someone-
like normal business hours?
It was during normal posted and advertised business hours.
Okay.
So they wrote a review about, it was closed. They were disappointed. They found another place, but they were upset that the restaurant was closed.
And then
So, the restaurant responds with, "You sound real stupid right now. If I'm closed, it's my damn business. When I decided to open my doors, I did not need your damn approval for a day off."
crazy.
This restaurant seems like they have their priorities in line. Like free time.
Is that the extent of that?
That was
that
the
response?
extent of that response. We have
All
some
right,
other
that
ones.
wasn't the worst. It was maybe a bad day. The person that ran the restaurant might have been having a bad day.
Maybe. However, as you scroll through, there's several similar reviews addressing the same problem.
All different days.
All different days, all different times. And here's another response. "Unfortunately, I have no clue of what you're talking about. This never happened. Shaking my head. This is for you. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I'm going to win. 1, I don't hate on nobody. 2, I pray. 3, I stay in my own lane. 2019, watch me win."
That's beautiful. I can't think of a better way to say what this person was trying to say.
It's a little motivational.
A little bit. Watch me win. Like, that's a sentiment I can get behind.
Also, it seems as if you want to just do whatever you want. You just have to open up a restaurant, right?
Another
That's for sure why some people get into it, though. You can't really knock them if they want to just have some fun.
Another review, another day, similar circumstances. Another response from the owner. "Unfortunately, this never happened at my restaurant, but anyway, like I told you and your friend, watch me win. Again, the 3 reasons. 2019, I'm winning. Hashtag watch me win."
I
So
think
I would
these
just-
are these are like mentally feelings that we can all aspire to have.
I mean,
To just,
I
for lack of a
guess.
better term, to give no fucks and just say, "Watch me win."
If you're in a large sized restaurant or bar in Times Square and you're leaving reviews to the reviews responses you mean? Yeah, got it. Then maybe it's okay because there's so much of a pool of people.
Yeah, you're gonna do so much
where
volume, it doesn't matter.
It
what
doesn't
one or two
matter.
people think. Yeah,
Exactly. As opposed to being in a much smaller location like I believe this place is. How long until you alienate everybody that lives in this town to the point where they're against you with axes and pitchforks outside like it's Beauty and the Beast?
So I'm going to give my 2 cents on this, but just one more before I do that because, this is just gold, right? So we have another similar review. Actually, this one praising the food, saying that, the food was great.
I like that.
This and that, but the service was lackluster and whatever the problem they had. And the owner responds with the Yelper's name. And the moral of the story is this: I pay the cost to be the boss. You don't have to come back. Trust me, I'm going to be fine. I'm very nice to all my workers. That is why I still have the same employees from the day I opened up, besides my dishwasher. Mind your business. And Merry Christmas. LOL. I don't give a damn who you work for. What I do know is that you're not smart. So on that note, girl, bye.
These are absolutely ridiculous.
That's beautiful.
So my 2 cents is this. Yelp can be frustrating, especially as a business owner, because
Absolutely.
you take one instance
Yeah, and he just put that up there for the entire world to see.
and you can be on point 9 out of 10 times, 90% of the time. You can be on point with your stuff, and you miss one time, and you get a Yelp reviewer that likes to throw that in there, and they put it up there, and it can be extremely frustrating to the business owner, to the restaurant, to everything. But I mean, that's part of what we're here for. You know, we're here to create an experience, and that's what's going to set you apart from everybody else. So you have to make sure that even the one Yelper guy that comes in hot like that,
too. Yeah.
if you're going to choose to respond, then you should respond in a way that's going to, you know, increase their experience. And also keep in mind that everybody's reading this, you know, so you're just further, you know, exacerbating the
Maybe
point.
this person didn't know that everybody was reading this.
Furthermore, it's a missed opportunity not to try to rectify a situation. I feel like on Yelp, offer a incentive for them to come back in the door. Let me buy
but
you
some
an
people
appetizer.
aren't looking, or some people are just looking for that free thing, and some people aren't looking for you to fix it. They just want to complain about something.
And I get that. I get that those people exist. That's just part of what we're in, right? Like, you just take those lumps.
But so then there's the state of mind that'll say, like, I'm not going to go weeding through all this to, like, try to help those people. I'm not going to go weeding through all this to try to help those people. You know, I'm just going to accept the fact that some people can't be pleased.
Okay, and that's a way to take it.
What you have to do is not let, you know, every time something happens like this, you can't let it become the end all be all for everything. You just need to take each one as if it was a complaint in the restaurant, like the same way that you would treat a table if they were unhappy and you're gonna walk up to a table. That's the same way you should treat people on Yelp, if not more so, because everybody can see it.
Yeah, for sure.
Unbelievable. Now, it's important, too, to note that this Yelp segment will not always be talking about the owner getting at the people leaving Yelp reviews.
No, we want to focus actually on the Yelp reviews themselves and
Not
how
the
they're
responses to the
and how they're
reviews.
coming at us. But this just stuck out, and we had it.
Yeah, that was
We
a
had to
diamond
point
in
it
the
out.
rough. Sometimes also when you see a place that has such terrible reviews and you start reading the reviews because you
Realize
want
that
to
those are people
associate
with
them to you.
vendettas.
But then you also go, I gotta check this place out. There's no way in hell this place is this crazy.
This is true.
Should we check the voicemail?
You should probably check the voicemail.
Hey, you've reached Waiting on Fries. Send us your voicemail.
You have one new message.
Hey, so I recently took a position as the GM at a restaurant where service was an issue. The first couple of weeks, I've been trying to improve the service standards and general attitude of staff, but it almost feels like some of the staff have banded together to reject me as superior. Anyone could handle the situation?
This is actually a quite common problem, I think, I would say, correct?
I mean, absolutely. Well, number one, kudos to the restaurant for realizing that, you know, it was on management and that there was a change that needed to be made.
From just needing new management.
Just needing a manager to bring a new manager in. A lot of times it's tough with the status quo to say, you know what, we need to shake the whole thing up. So,
Agree. And, you know, with this individual coming in here and walking into, and everyone's been an employee. They understand. They see somebody new coming in. They go, oh no, my world's about to get rocked. I'm so used to just couch surfing in this business where I'm making my money and I get out of here without doing X, without doing Y. And now the employees know each other well. It sounds like they've worked together for some period of time. And they're making it hard for this new manager to come in here and make these changes. You know what? So she's really asking, how do I get around this? How do I fix this problem? And I think there's multiple different ways to look at this problem and multiple different solutions depending. We don't know some factors. How big is this restaurant? Is it a small restaurant? Is it a larger restaurant?
For sure, but I actually don't think any of that matters, like the size of the restaurant or even how they operate, whether it's a counter service or full service restaurant or however it is. I think the big thing to remember is you're coming in as a new manager. There's two things. There's two major keys. One, you're not there to make friends.
True.
You want the respect of your staff.
Yeah.
You don't want everybody to just hate you, but you're not there,
For everybody to like you.
You didn't come in to make friends with the staff. You came in. The reason why you're there is there was a situation beforehand that it changed. And obviously the staff is going to be part of that problem and part of that solution. The second thing to remember is that as a manager, the staff doesn't work for you, you work for the staff. And obviously that sounds like it doesn't make sense at all, but
Super cliche.
If you really break it down, the manager of a restaurant or the management of a restaurant is there to make sure all the parts are operating correctly.
A utility player.
A utility player. So it's their job to, in a full service situation, if a server is in the weeds,
Bail that person out.
help them start a table, help them, with the water, figure out what it is that they need and be that person. If the bartender is in the weeds, jump back there and bang out a few cocktails. If the expediter is in the weeds, get back there and start plating some dishes or running some food. And that's how you're working for your staff. You're doing things for them that they need you to do.
Operations running smoothly.
And the key is to put them in the position to be successful.
Correct.
If the manager is not doing those things and they're not setting their staff up, then no one's going to succeed. And that's the important part to come into. The second part is the staff there might be some problems within the staff that they just don't want to change. So the first thing I would do is if there's, obviously two staff members or a group of staff members, depending on how big your staff is, that are like kind of together, start splitting those people up and figure out who are your people, like who your people are, who are your key people, and who are the people that are carrying out, what the business wants to do, and put those people with the people that need a little work, kind of split it up.
I think that's usually quite easy to spot and feel out as well.
And then if it's the whole staff, which is, not as common where the entire staff is against, the management, but if you have a situation like that, then, the first way to do that is to start hiring some new staff, start training the way you want things to be run into that new staff. And, if the old staff isn't, picking up what you're putting down, then you need to pick them up and put them outside.
And there's another danger in that as well, too, when you start hiring the new staff. If you don't do it fast enough and create the turnover fast enough, then the old staff starts to poison the new staff to some extent.
Well, you want to be, it's not so much quick as much thorough. You want to make sure as you're hiring and bringing them in, you're explaining them to exactly what
Training them properly
so that they know what's going to be expected of them, and that they don't get into a situation where they're caught not able to succeed.
So you're just setting them up for success.
Yeah,
as much as possible.
That's it.
Yes. Well, it sounds like this was quite a simple solution.
Simple as it sounds, harder to
It's
much harder to execute.
Yeah.
It's hard to separate yourself sometimes, from when the whole staff is like, hey, we're all going out for drinks later, and then you don't get invited. Sometimes that hurts.
Creates some hurt feelings.
But we're not. Again, that's the difference between
here.
management and staff. Sometimes you don't go out for drinks afterwards.
Justin, are you envious when the staff goes out, though?
I'm sorry?
Are you envious when the staff goes out?
For sure, he's not.
No,
For sure.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's part of age. But I hope that answered your question. And, again, don't hesitate to not leave us a voicemail, right? We want to get these things on
Don't
here.
hesitate to leave us a voicemail.
That's what I meant. What I said. You heard me.
We all know what you said. That's why I said it better.
Call that voicemail number. Just leave the message. 203-541-0762.
And with
All right.
that,
Cool.
Good talk. See you out there.
That was incorrect.
What do you mean it's incorrect? Good talk. See you out there.
Deuces.
That's it.
That's it.
All right.
Why, you want more of an outro?
Yeah. I want like share it, subscribe it. Good talk. See you out
If you
there.
like what you heard, smash that like button. Because, algorithms.
Deuces.
Oh, this guy's unbelievable.
Good talk. See you out there.